Loch Lomond Lotto. Play for a chance to win our monthly cash jackpot amongst other prizes. By entering, you're directly supporting Loch Lomond TV, our community-led media platform, and helping to fund local good causes. Each draw gives you the chance to win while giving back to the local community. For more information, visit our website, lochlomondtv.com, or follow us on social media at Loch Lomond TV.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Real People, and I'm talking to James Macrae of the Loch Lomond Rescue Boat. Thanks for coming, James.
Not a bit.
James, an independent thing altogether. It's not government. It's something standalone for Loch Lomond.
It is. It's a one-off independent lifeboat. Yep.
And it's been there since
1977.
Yep.
And it was formed then because obviously, as we all know, most years, almost every year, there are deaths on the loch, and an anonymous donor at that point gave money to buy a small boat and erect a small boathouse. Mm-hmm. And at first it came under the cloak of the Humane Society, but after a few years it changed into an actual independent charity, which is what it has been obviously for the past 40 odd years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously as a local person, I think I said to you before, my mother used to say, you know, the loch took so many lives a year. Keep back from the water. We were always warned as kids. Still a dangerous place, I take it. It's not really changed. It must be the same.
No, absolutely. And in a way, it's almost more dangerous because, of course, it's used by even more people. Therefore, there's more people, you know, who are many of them are an accident waiting to happen.
So you've now got jet skis, more boats.
Yep. Paddle boards.
Paddle boards.
Yep.
You've got wild swimming.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Open water swimming, as well.
Also, I'm guessing tourists who come to Loch Lomond might not be aware of the danger of the loch either.
No, I think there's a tendency with anyone visiting the loch who doesn't know it's dangerous to actually reckon that it's a kind of inland, peaceful, big paddling pool, and it is not. I mean, fresh water is just as dangerous as salt water. In fact, in many ways, more dangerous because, of course, you get less flotation in fresh water.
Less salt.
Yep. So
and it can be colder as well, I think.
Yeah. Well, it can be very cold because obviously a lot of the water, in a bad year, a bad winter, is snowmelt. So it can be very cold indeed. Yeah.
So snowmelt obviously is a factor in the temperature of the loch, and also I've paddled in it myself, you know, as a kid, and even later. I guess locals, you think they know where the safe bits are. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend going in it at all, particularly, but in a hot day it's tempting. But you can hit a piece of water that's suddenly very cold.
Yes. And
it takes you by surprise. You're also saying that people who maybe don't know the loch that well can paddle out and almost like hit a cliff.
Yes, exactly. Well, there are quite a few places in the loch where there's a nice shallow sloping beach which you can peacefully walk down, you may be up to your knees or so, and then suddenly it falls off in a virtual cliff. Yeah. And there have been, in recent years, more than one death of that kind, of exactly that happening. Someone literally walking in and suddenly plunging out of the depth. And of course, there's immediate cold water shock for a start. But usually they can't swim. And, you know, there you are.
That's too late.
And these are the ones we really worry about because in those instances, drowning happens extremely quickly.
Minutes, seconds.
And I mean, unless this happens to be a boat of any kind, not just the rescue boat, any boat, within immediate view, there's almost no chance of survival.
How often is the boat called out in a summer, do you think?
Basically, in the course of a year, it varies, but the course of a year, really 70 to 80 times a year, which is a lot.
And there are still fatalities in the loch?
Yes, there are still fatalities in the loch, yeah.
So the boat is at the moment located in Luss, is that right?
Yes, and it has been really ever since the beginning.
Right.
Yep.
1977, Luss. The roads have been a bit quieter in 1977.
Probably
I'm guessing the
a
roads...
quarter of the traffic, probably, in those days.
Easily. I'm guessing that, because I know what it's like, I live in the area. When you get a hot day in the summer, the A82, it's gridlock sometimes.
It is, absolutely gridlock. And our problem is that the vast majority of the crew come from the Vale of Leven.
Right.
Basically, they've got to get to Luss. And on the wrong day, a hot summer's day with loads of tourists on the road, they can take anything up to, who knows, 50 minutes to get to Luss, which is, I mean...
And every minute is a minute too long.
Absolutely, far too long. And then, once they got there, they've got to get the kit on, get the boat out, etc., and get to the scene of the incident.
And what kind of incidents do you mostly get called out to?
I mean, there's a huge variety. Basically, you've got boats sinking, you've got boats overwhelmed by bad weather, you've got boats on fire, you've got people going overboard, you've got paddle boarders coping and getting in trouble, jet skiers running out of fuel. Indeed, many boats running out of fuel. That's one of the most common ones.
I guess engine failure as well.
Yeah, at least, I mean, that's not such a crisis, but nonetheless, if the weather gets up and they've got no power, they're in trouble. But one of the things that's worth mentioning, the other thing, fires on the island. We take the fire brigade out.
Right.
If in fact, and there are fires on the island.
So campers, for example, not putting
yeah,
fires
that's right.
out.
Yeah. But one of the things people don't think about is the fact that quite a few of our, in fact, probably about double figures of our rescues each year are in fact land-based on the West Highland Way.
Right.
Because if you think of the West Highland Way running up the east bank of the loch, there's a kind of slow and wiggly road as far as Rowdennan, and then there's nothing.
No.
Or there's one road comes into a point
Inversnaid.
Inversnaid.
Yeah, but in between there's
there's nothing.
Yeah. So the only exit if somebody fell and hurt themselves would be yourselves.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, we are the quickest way to get to people there. So we will, very often be called out to someone who's, for instance, broken an ankle or had a heart attack or whatever it is on the West Highland Way.
So how does
we'll scoop them off the shore.
Yeah.
Because the West Highland Way, fortunately, is fairly near the shore most of the way.
It is, yeah.
And then we will whip them across to an ambulance at a pre-arranged site on the West Bank and get them to hospital, or indeed, on occasion, get them lifted out by helicopter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a problem in the loch, how do they contact you?
They basically ring 999.
I was going to say they dial in and then they phone you.
Yeah, and indeed in some cases, people use the channel 16 on VHF, and that goes to the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard are in fact briefed to immediately get that straight to the police.
Right.
So it sometimes comes via the Coast Guard, but mainly 999, and then the police control room then calls out the boat.
How many volunteers have you got
We've got, at the minute, I think currently we've got 22 or 23.
Well, that's quite a
We
lot.
normally vary between probably minimum 20 and sort of max about 25.
Okay, I
Now
guess...
it sounds a lot,
Yeah.
but in fact the reason for that is so that in fact at any moment of the night or day, 365 days a year, you can get a crew.
Okay.
And you want 3.
3 minimum.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, on occasion, if things are desperate, you might go with 2, but 3 is the norm.
Okay.
And obviously one of the 3 must be a qualified coxswain as well, to take charge of the boat.
Right.
And that's why of our 20 odd, we always have probably at least 10 who are qualified coxswains and are therefore allowed to be in charge and take the boat out.
Yep.
And I mean, sometimes you'll have, the boat will go out with 3 people in it. They're all qualified coxswains.
Yes.
But the great thing is
Overqualified boat.
The great thing is to have one.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's, a vital part to the loch and the people in the area. And it is a charity.
It is a charity, absolutely, yes.
It's not government run, it's a charity. It depends on donations to keep going.
It does.
And how can people donate to this?
Well, in all sorts of ways. I mean, obviously, if they go to our website, which you just key in Loch Lomond Rescue Boat, that channels people in the right direction, and they can.
So you just Google Loch Lomond Rescue Boat and come up with it.
And they can either do it via just giving, or indeed in many cases send direct to me. I think I mentioned on the website, I can't remember offhand, but anyway, don't worry, the money comes in.
Yes, okay.
The money comes in.
And that's good.
And the wonderful thing is, a whole lot of the money comes in completely unsolicited.
Right.
And it's one of the actual heartwarming things about being the treasurer of this organisation is that, you aren't constantly twisting people's arms. I mean, out of the blue, it doesn't matter whether it's...
Well, you must have some people who have been touched or affected by problems in the loch, maybe their family, and they realise that by giving to yourself, it's going to stop some other family having a problem and getting upset. So I can only imagine people, will continually keep hopefully helping you.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And I mean, every year there's new ones appear out of the blue, and obviously a lot of people regularly give to us.
Yeah. So much a month or something.
The sailing club and all a lot of what you might call the organisations around the loch, the water ski club, etc. They all donate to us from time to time. The Loch Lomond Association, etc. So the money flows in sufficient amount to actually keep the boat going.
Good. You're saying you're hoping to relocate to Ballach.
Yes.
Just because probably of the road situation not helping too much with the bus and if it's busy in the summer. Well, that'll be good if that happens, and hopefully that happens quite soon for you. I just want to say thank you very much, James, for coming in to talk about it. And it's a really important thing, important. Well, it's a necessity for the loch.
It is, absolutely.
And long may it continue. And thanks for coming in again.
Well, that's great. I mean, no problem. I mean, as a parting point, I would just like to really take my hat off to the crew, because the crew are all volunteers.
Yeah.
Nobody gets paid anything, either crew or committee. Right. And indeed, the crew who could claim for travelling to Luss and back don't. So, you know what I mean?
It's just good people, basically.
Good people that are giving up their time and their effort and putting themselves in danger and sometimes being dug out their beds at 2 a.m, etc., to go to a shout. And I really take my hat off to them.
Well, let's thank them.
They're a great crowd. And incidentally, in case anyone thinks it's some sort of male preserve, it's not. We do have women in the crew. Okay. Only a few, but
that's great. So a diverse crew now.
Absolutely, yes. It's not some horrible male-only clique.
Good to know. James, thanks again for coming in.
Not a bit.
That's it for this episode of Real People, and we'll see you again next time.